Her family expected me to fund their life, and it broke me and later my girlfriend. I spent months driving her family around and paying for their dinners, not knowing she was giving them half her salary, until it tore us apart and I realized some boundaries can't be crossed. I'd been dating my girlfriend, Sarah, for about 2 years. We met through mutual friends, hit it off, and things moved fast. She was kind, funny, and we had a lot in common. Same taste in music, same love for late night drives, same obsession with trying new food spots. Early on, everything felt easy. We'd spend weekends exploring the city, splitting bills, and just enjoying each other's company. Her family lived nearby, and she mentioned them often, especially how close she was to her parents and younger siblings. I didn't think much of it at first. Family's important, right? But about 6 months in, I started noticing things that didn't sit right. Sarah's family started asking me for favors. Small stuff at first, like picking up her younger brother from soccer practice because their car was in the shop. I didn't mind helping out. I had a car and it was only a 15-minute drive. But then it became a regular thing. Her brother needed rides to practice 3 times a week. Her mom needed to be dropped off at work, and her dad would ask me to swing by the grocery store for them. I'm not a confrontational guy, so I just went along with it, figuring it was temporary. Sarah always thanked me, saying how much it meant to her family, and I didn't want to make waves. Then came the dinners. Sarah's parents loved going out to eat. Nice places too, not just fast food. They'd invite me and Sarah to join them, which sounded great at first. I thought it'd be a chance to get to know them better. But every time the bill came, everyone looked at me. No one said anything outright, but the silence was loud. Sarah would give me this apologetic look, and I'd end up covering the whole tab, 100, 150, or sometimes more. Her dad would say something like, "We'll get the next one," but the next one never came. I started dreading these outings, but Sarah insisted it was important to spend time with her family. I didn't want to seem like a jerk, so I kept paying. This went on for months. I was spending hundreds of dollars a month on dinners and gas for their errands, and it was eating into my budget. I'm not rich. I work a decent job in IT, but I'm not swimming in cash. I tried talking to Sarah about it once, casually mentioning that the dinners were adding up. She got quiet, said her family was going through a rough patch financially, and asked if I could keep helping out. I felt bad for her, so I agreed, but something about it didn't feel right. Why was it always on me? Her parents both worked, and they didn't seem to be struggling that hard. New clothes, new gadgets, always something new at their house. Then I found out about the money. One night, Sarah left her phone on the counter while she was in the shower, and a text from her mom popped up. I wasn't trying to snoop, but it was right there. "Thanks for the $500, honey. Let me know when you can send more." I froze. $500? I thought her family was broke. When Sarah came out, I asked her about it, trying to keep my tone neutral. She got defensive, said it was none of my business, but eventually admitted she'd been giving her parents half her salary every month for over a year. Half her salary. She was a graphic designer making decent money, but that explained why she was always short on cash, why she never offered to split bills anymore, why she'd moved into a cheaper apartment a few months back. I was floored. I'd been footing the bill for her family's dinners and driving them around like a personal chauffeur, while she was secretly funneling thousands of dollars to them. I asked why she didn't tell me, and she said she didn't want me to think she was choosing them over me. But that's exactly what it felt like. I wasn't just helping out. I was being used to subsidize their lifestyle while she was giving them everything she had. I told her it wasn't fair to keep me in the dark, especially when I was already doing so much. She got upset, said I was making her feel guilty for supporting her family and that I didn't understand how much pressure she was under. Things got tense after that. I started saying no to the family's requests, politely but firmly. No more picking up her brother, no more paying for dinners. Sarah's parents didn't take it well. Her mom called me selfish, said I wasn't part of the family if I wasn't willing to help. Her dad stopped talking to me altogether. Sarah started acting distant, like I'd betrayed her by setting boundaries. I tried to explain that I wasn't trying to cut her off from her family, just that I couldn't keep bankrolling them. She didn't want to hear it. She started spending more time at her parents' house, and when we were together, she'd bring up how much they needed her, how I was making things harder for her by pulling away. It all came to a head one night at her place. We were supposed to have a quiet evening, just the two of us, but her mom called asking for another ride to some appointment. I said no, that I was done being their driver. Sarah lost it. She accused me of being manipulative, said I was trying to force her to choose between me and her family. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I spent months bending over backward for them, and now I was the bad guy? I told her she needed to be honest with herself about what was going on. Her family was taking advantage of both of us, and she was enabling it. She didn't say anything, just stared at me like I'd crossed some line. That's when I realized things weren't going to get better unless something changed. After that fight, things with Sarah didn't just snap back to normal. The air between us felt heavy, like we were both waiting for the other to make a move. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to apologize or stand my ground, but I knew I couldn't keep going the way things were. Her family's demands had drained me, not just financially, but mentally. I was starting to resent Sarah, and that scared me. I cared about her, but the whole situation was suffocating. I decided to give her some space, hoping she'd see where I was coming from. We still texted, but it was short, surface level stuff. No more late night talks or weekend plans, just a quick, how's it going here and there. A couple of weeks later, Sarah asked to meet up. I thought maybe she wanted to work things out, so I agreed. We met at a coffee shop, neutral ground. She looked tired, like she hadn't been sleeping well. I asked how she was holding up, and she said her family was leaning on her even harder now that I wasn't helping out. Her mom had some medical bills piling up, and her brother needed new gear for soccer. She was still giving them half her salary, sometimes more, and it was taking a toll. She wasn't eating out anymore, wasn't buying new clothes, wasn't doing much of anything for herself. I felt for her, but I also felt a knot in my stomach. Why was she letting this happen? I tried to keep the conversation calm. I told her I wasn't trying to pull her away from her family, but she needed to set some boundaries. She was burning herself out, and it wasn't sustainable. She got quiet, staring at her coffee. Then she said her parents had been telling her I was controlling, that I didn't care about her because I wouldn't help them. I was stunned. I'd spent months driving them around, paying for their meals, and now they were painting me as the bad guy? I asked if she believed them. She didn't answer right away, which hurt more than I expected. When she finally spoke, she said she didn't know what to think anymore. She felt stuck, like she was failing everyone. I realized then that her family wasn't just asking for help. They were guilt-tripping her into it. I tried to point that out, gently. I said it wasn't normal for parents to expect their kid to hand over half their paycheck every month, especially when they weren't upfront about what it was for. Sarah got defensive, said I didn't understand their dynamic, that her parents had done so much for her growing up. I didn't push back too hard. I didn't want to make her feel attacked, but I asked if she'd ever talked to them about cutting back on the money. She admitted she hadn't. She was too scared of letting them down. That conversation didn't resolve anything. If anything, it made things worse. Sarah started pulling away even more. She'd cancel plans last minute, saying her family needed her. When we did see each other, she was distracted, always checking her phone for texts from her parents. I started feeling like I was dating someone who wasn't really there. I kept thinking about what she'd said at the coffee shop, how her parents called me controlling. It stung, but it also made me wonder what else they were saying about me. I didn't want to be the guy who makes someone choose between their partner and their family, but I also couldn't keep living like this. A month later, things hit a breaking point. Sarah's dad called me out of the blue, something he hadn't done in weeks. He said they were in a bind, some utility bill was overdue, and they needed $300 to cover it. He didn't ask Sarah, he went straight to me. I was done. I told him I couldn't help, that I'd already done a lot, and that Sarah was giving them more than she could afford. He got mad, said I was selfish, that I was trying to tear their family apart. I hung up, but my hands were shaking. I couldn't believe the nerve. I texted Sarah about it, expecting her to be as upset as I was. Instead, she got mad at me. She said I shouldn't have been so harsh with her dad, that he was just desperate. I asked why she wasn't upset that he'd gone behind her back. She didn't have an answer. That night, I sat down and really thought about where this was going. I still cared about Sarah, but I didn't recognize our relationship anymore. It wasn't just about the money or the favors. It was the way her family had wedged themselves between us and how Sarah seemed okay with it. I started wondering if she'd ever stand up to them, or if I'd always be the outsider in her life. I didn't want to give up on her, but I also didn't want to keep fighting a losing battle. I decided to give it one last shot, to have an honest talk with her about everything, not just the money, but us, our future, what we both wanted. I didn't know if it would fix things or end them, but I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I asked Sarah to come over to my place for a serious talk. I didn't want to do it over text or in public. This needed to be face to face. She agreed, but I could tell she was nervous when she showed up. She barely looked at me when she sat down, just fidgeted with her phone. I didn't waste time. I told her I cared about her, but things couldn't keep going the way they were. Her family's demands, the money she was giving them, the way they were painting me as the bad guy, it was tearing us apart. I said I wasn't asking her to cut them off, but she needed to set some limits for her own sake as much as mine. She listened, but her face was hard to read, like she was bracing herself. She admitted she felt trapped. Her parents had always leaned on her, even before we started dating. Growing up, she was the one who took care of her siblings, helped with bills, kept things together when her parents fought. Giving them money now felt like her responsibility, like if she stopped, their whole world would collapse. I asked why she felt like it was all on her, especially when they didn't seem to be trying to stand on their own. She got quiet, then said she didn't know how to say no to them. They'd guilt her, bring up everything they'd done for her, make her feel like she owed them. I pointed out that she was sacrificing her own life, her savings, her time, her peace of mind. She nodded, but it was like she didn't fully believe it. I brought up her dad's call to me about the utility bill. I told her it wasn't just about the money, it was the secrecy, the way her family went around her to get to me. I said I felt used and I didn't think I could keep going if things didn't change. That's when she started crying. She said she didn't mean for me to feel that way, that she loved me, but her family was her responsibility. I asked if she thought it was fair that they expected me to step up while she was already giving them so much. She didn't answer, just kept saying she didn't know what to do. I told her I wasn't trying to make her choose between me and her family, but I couldn't be in a relationship where I felt like an ATM or a driver. She got upset, said I was putting her in an impossible spot, that I was being unfair. The conversation went in circles. I tried to stay calm, but I was frustrated. I'd spent over a year trying to fit into her life, supporting her family because I thought it was helping her. But now it felt like I was the only one compromising. I told her I needed to know if she could set boundaries with her parents, or at least be honest with me about what was going on. She said she'd try, but it didn't sound convincing. It was like she was already defeated, like she couldn't imagine standing up to them. I didn't want to push her too hard, but I also couldn't keep living like this. I suggested we take a break, give her time to figure things out. She didn't fight it, just nodded and left. It felt like a punch to the gut, but I didn't know what else to do. The next few weeks were rough. We barely talked, just a few texts to check in. I heard from a mutual friend that Sarah's parents were furious with me, saying I'd abandoned her when she needed me most. It stung, but I wasn't surprised. They'd never taken accountability for their part in this. I started second-guessing myself, wondering if I'd been too harsh, if I should have stuck it out longer. But every time I thought about going back, I remembered the dinners, the constant favors, the way Sarah shut down when I tried to talk about it. I couldn't keep signing up for that. About a month later, Sarah reached out. She said she'd talked to her parents about the money, told them she couldn't keep giving them half her salary. They didn't take it well. Her mom cried. Her dad stopped talking to her for a week. But she stuck to it, started giving them less, trying to save for herself. She sounded proud, but also exhausted. She asked if we could try again. I wanted to say yes, but I couldn't shake the feeling that nothing had really changed. Her family was still there, still pulling at her, and I didn't trust that they wouldn't drag me back into it. I told her I was happy she was setting boundaries, but I needed time to figure out what I wanted. She didn't push, just said she understood. Looking back, I don't regret trying to make it work with Sarah. I loved her, and I think she loved me too. But her family's hold on her was stronger than either of us could handle. I learned a lot about boundaries, about not ignoring red flags, about how hard it is to love someone when their loyalties are split. I still think about her sometimes, wonder if she's found a way to balance things. But I know I made the right call stepping away. Sometimes that you have to put yourself first, even when it hurts.